How good is Arsenal's current squad? Can it make the top four? Could it challenge? I doubt it. Stupid thing, why doesn't it always work for me? I really shouldn't do these intros because whenever I try, you have to then click on a little video that doesn't then work because I get an email and it pops up. But, the worst intro I've ever done on the show, and you've witnessed it. Congratulations. I'm going to hunt down the person that just emailed me that made my intro go that way. I'm a victim of doing live shows. That's what I am a victim of. There's no editing here. There's no second chances. If you mess up because someone sends you an email which blocks the button to turn on your little overlay video, you're ruined. And that's what happened to me. So you got me staring awkwardly at you for a couple of seconds, which I'm sure you enjoyed in a weird way. But we're here to do a show about Arsenal's team and regarding, obviously, whether we think there is a chance that Arsenal could make a top four bid this season. And I know that there's a couple of weeks left of the window and things in terms of Arsenal's squad could still change. And what I thought would be quite cool is maybe in a couple of weeks' time, if we turned around and did another video if we end up signing anyone. If we don't end up signing anyone, we won't. It's as simple as that. And I think that when you're looking at what Arsenal can currently do with the current squad of players that we've got, I think there's mixed opinions. I think there's genuinely a different spectrum of where Arsenal could see themselves between now and the end of this season. Now, if we go through the squad, and we're going to do that by looking at the goalkeepers, the defence, the midfield, and the forward line, and we're going to get your thoughts on that and see what is possible with the squad that Arsenal currently have. Christopher Funk says Tom's so mad that he went out completely with a rage blackout. I did. Utterly raging at what was a horrific intro. It makes me want to start again, but I'm not. We're going to push through with this. But thank you so much to everyone that's joining in the live chat right now that experienced that horrific intro. But also, thank you to everyone that's a member right now. I have some news regarding memberships that is coming very, very soon. Some exciting #Mainsley stuff and some other things is going to be added as well, which I'm really excited about and looking forward to that. You may have seen me put a tweet up looking for designers earlier on. There's reasons behind that. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see it very, very soon. So let's jump into Arsenal's squad and then have a look at kind of look into what Arsenal could be expected to do this season. Now, Arsenal squad is thinning gradually thanks to some player sales. And you'll notice from what you can see on your screen right now is that we've got some thinning of the squad happening with Emi Martinez's departure. We didn't cover it specifically on the show because we've done quite a few shows talking about the likelihood of him moving to Aston Villa. And so that's why I haven't decided to do a specific show on that because we've covered it quite intensely. But it does mean that Arsenal are now looking to put a new goalkeeper into this lineup. There's rumours, as Avon says there, that Macy apparently also wants to move on to get first team football, which he's completely entitled to do. We've got some young guys that could come through the academy. I believe there's a 19-year-old goalkeeper that's coming through with the under-23s that looks quite good, so could take his place as third choice. But Arsenal are looking to bring in runner Alex Runnison, the Dijon goalkeeper, Icelandic international, to be Arsenal's sort of backup. There's still links to David Raya going on. The Athletic, you may have seen posted an article about it today. But in terms of what Arsenal have got right now, is Bernd Leno a good enough keeper to push Arsenal for top four? I think he is good enough. I think he showed us last season being the runner-up player of the season, even though he missed a significant part of the end of it, which included obviously Arsenal lifting a trophy. Leno was imperative to keeping Arsenal's hopes of pushing for something last season alive. He was the only reason that the back line had some form of solidity in it because our centre-backs were so consistent in making errors that it was down to Leno to try and solve them. I know that there was the big error in the Europa League game against Olympiacos. I am aware of that. But if you look across the whole season, that one mistake does not ruin what was a very strong season from the German goalkeeper. Can he be one of the Premier League's top keepers? Well, if you go down who is available in the different squads, he's definitely one of the better goalkeepers in the Premier League. Manchester City and Liverpool have got Ederson and Alisson. You look at them as world-class keepers. Leno is probably, for me, on the step just below those guys, on the top-class level. Not quite world-class, but definitely with the potential to reach that standard. You look at the other teams. David De Gea, his consistency is so flawed. For me, Leno has eclipsed David De Gea in terms of consistency for sure. The Spaniard has just given up so many goals and silly errors for Manchester United. In terms of longevity, in terms of their entire career, De Gea obviously wins that. But for me, in terms of current form, current quality and current consistency, Leno is better than what David De Gea is showing for Manchester United. And that's probably why you could see Dean Henderson get a lot more games for United this season than what you're seeing David De Gea get so far. Obviously, right now, they've got Kepa and Caballero and probably Mendy. Leno's, for me, better than all of those goalkeepers as well. Tottenham Hotspur have got Lloris, probably on the same tier as what Leno is right now. Lloris makes a fair few errors for me. Not so many that Leno makes, in my opinion. But he's probably, in terms of quality and the consistency, around the same level as what Leno is right now. But there is parts of Leno's game that does need improvement. I think Sorted Nearly says there, Leno needs to improve his distribution. But the thing is, I think sometimes it goes into, it gets caught in shadow sometimes how good his distribution actually is. In the Fulham game, I thought his passing out from the back was fine, really solid, needs to do what he does do really well, and that's the short passing. I think he's a victim of Unai Emery. I think some of the silly intricacies of the goalkeeper passing to the centre-backs under Unai Emery really cost him some of his distribution reputation. But I do think that Leno has the capacity to be a really top-class goalkeeper for us, and you never know, could break into that world-class tier as well. Let's go into the defence then. If we look at the main guys, because for me, Socrates is going to be moving on. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. Socrates, I would be very shocked if he's going to be here this season. Chambers, I don't know whether we're going to see too much of him this season. Marie's obviously injured until October, but I am quite excited about him. Kolasinac, we could also see move on. If we have a look at the players that we've got available to us, Hector Bellerin showed in the Fulham game the quality player that he can be. I've said time and time again that if a club came in for a decent offer for him, I would be open to seeing moving on. But in that display against Fulham, you saw the Spaniard that I really think can recapture the form that we saw prior to his knee injury. If he can be as good as he was in that Fulham game, which for me was an 8 out of 10 performance, I feel that he can still be a really top quality right back / right wing back for this Arsenal team. Kieran Tierney is the best defender that we've got at the club. Easily, no doubt. His tenacity, his commitment, his raw physical, natural nature to want to win everything is so key to this team. And Tierney, for me, is the best defender that we've got right now. Playing in that left centre-back role in the back three is perfect. His ability to run on the ball, his ability to play the ball over the top for the left winger or to support the left wing back, be it Maitland-Niles, be it Saka, whoever it may be. I love Tierney in this left centre-back role. I think it suits him down to the ground. But also, when he is played in a back four, he has that consistency going forward to deliver a top-notch cross. But you've even seen him push forward in that Fulham game. He was found on the edge of the box or to the left of the box quite a lot in that game. William Saliba is a massive, massive prodigy in this Arsenal team that has the potential to be a top class centre-back. Right now, still questions about him. Did really well for Saint-Etienne. Haven't seen him too much of an Arsenal shirt, but there's loads of potential to come from him. Socrates is moving on. We've kind of talked about that. Gabriel showed in the first game against Fulham that we've signed a quality defender. Whether or not you can do it consistently, is the biggest question. And whether or not you can do it in the biggest games against the biggest teams is also going to come into question too. But performances like he put in for Lille against some of the big sides last season in PSG and in Chelsea in the Champions League were still good. And I think there's potential there, but we need to see him tested against the likes of Liverpool in the third game week of the season. But until then, we're going to have to wait and see and enjoy what he's actually bringing to the team. But I thought he had an excellent performance against Fulham. Rob Holding is kind of an enigma in the team right now because when Saliba comes in or when Mustafi is fit, I'm not sure whether Rob Holding starts, genuinely. And that goes to show them the credit to how good Mustafi has been since Arteta's come in. If you were starting between Mustafi and Holding, I'm genuinely feeling Mustafi is going to be playing ahead of Holding right now, and that doesn't bother me in the slightest. The German has shown a real turn of form since Arteta came in, and I think that actually he deserves a lot more credit than he does get from a lot of Arsenal fans, myself included. If a big bid came in for him, well, by big bid, I mean between 20 and 25, and I don't think you're going to see that. When he does return to fitness maybe in January, I'd still be very open to seeing him move on. Holding, though, there's a future for him at the club if he gets continuous minutes. That's the only issue, is when players are back fit, does Rob Holding start for us? If David Luiz is fit, does he start for us? I'm just not quite sure. Cedric, really odd signing, just adds depth, doesn't really add too much quality to the team. I have a lot of questions around the Portuguese right back. I'm not sure what I think of him in training. I'm not sure what's going on there. He'll probably play in the Europa League. He'll probably play in the cup competitions. And God forbid Bellerin gets injured, it's not going to be Cedric taking his place. It's going to be Maitland-Niles. So I think that tells you almost everything you need to know about the Portuguese right back at the moment. Callum Chambers, been away, long injury. We don't really know how he's going to be coming back. He's going to be coming back next couple of months or so. Whether or not that means he comes back in really good form, we just have to wait and see. These injuries can cause different issues. Before he got injured, he was being one of our top defenders at the club. He was performing excellently well, and I just feel that if he was able to recapture some of that form, he could convince Arteta to be more involved with the first team. But when you look at the quality that we've now got into the back line, especially with Saliba coming through, especially with how Gabriel and David Luiz have been performing, there's big questions, and possibly someone that Arsenal could look at as a real asset that's sellable and could help them in the January window if they want to recoup any money for a player in the team that could be invested in other areas of the pitch. Marie, question, and the jury is still out on Marie. We just don't really know what this guy is going to be about. He had some really decent performances when he did play. He didn't really put a foot wrong, but he didn't inspire either. So I think it's a solid 7 out of 10 for Marie right now in terms of whether or not we see him in the Arsenal lineup in the future. Gabriel signing as a left-footed centre-back does throw some questions at him, but Arsenal wouldn't have signed him on a full-term contract if they did not think that he could add something to this Arsenal team. David Luiz, since the turn of, say, lockdown after he returned from his suspension, was one of our best players, integral in winning us the FA Cup in the semi-final and the final against Manchester City and Chelsea. David Luiz has easily been one of the best Arsenal players in the last 10 games or so, easily. And I don't think that's an overstatement. He's made mistakes in the past. We get that. We understand that. But if he can show the form that he showed towards the end of last season and the beginning of this in the Community Shield, I genuinely think we've, again, got a really good player in David Luiz and someone that can prove a lot of people wrong. Kolasinac, for me, as we've already said, is going to be moving on. Let's go into the chat box before we go into the midfield and get your thoughts on those guys. Vinny Eagle says, views on Chambers or Luiz as a defensive midfielder. If you want to play 4-3-3, they could form the base of that. I'd only be doing that in really minor games in the League Cup or the Europa League against lesser sides. I wouldn't be risking that too much in big games or even in medium-sized games, to be honest. Smart Fireball says, Arteta said somewhere that Cedric has the best decision-making in the final third of all right-backs at Arsenal. If he did say that, I've not seen it. And if he did, fair play to the guy. But defensively, and in fitness and speed, I'm not sure that Cedric has what it takes to be a starting. Yvonne says, with all the Arsenal website features on Saliba this week, I wonder if we might see him play in Saturday. It's a really interesting question. And when we do our preview show tomorrow, that's certainly something that I'm going to be bringing up. Machiavelli says, last season we have only 4 homegrown players over 21, so it's not a priority to keep Holding or Chambers. We only have 4 homegrown players over 21, so it's not a priority. I think it might be a priority. And I actually think that when you look at how many homegrown players Arsenal have got, we're in a bit of a sticky situation. We need to move on to Kratis and Kolasinac and Torreira, and that will help us. But keeping Chambers and Holding is important because they are actually that homegrown quota that Arsenal need in their team. Rog says, sell Mustafi, Kolasinac and Guendouzi, and we could be able to afford a lot more players this season. Richie Hartnett says, I'm finally happy with our defence. After years, we finally have a base to build on. Let's move on to the midfield. Of course, Bukayo Saka has played in a left-back role for us, but we know mainly can be seen either in that sort of third midfielder that's got a creative freedom, or in the front line, possibly on the right or the left wing. Lots to come from him this season, especially in some of the lesser competitions, but also with rotation in the Premier League. Danny Sabas coming in on loan this season is a massive, massive plus for us. Desperately needed to keep hold of the Spaniard. We've done that, and he can come in and hopefully reform that partnership with Granit Xhaka as soon as possible. Mesut Ozil, for me, barely will feature in the Premier League. Some people might think that's a waste, but I think Arsenal know ultimately that the less of the wages that he can be paid through the appearance bonuses that are involved in that contract is going to be necessary to keeping our sort of basically our spending down as much as possible. And that's going to mean not playing the German or trying to force him out whenever possible. Lucas Torreira, I'll be very surprised if he starts Arsenal. this season after the close of the transfer window this summer. I think there's lots of clubs in Italy that are interested in him. The issues is what type of deal we can get for him. It needs to be decent money. It needs to be a lot of money up front so that can be reinvested into the Arsenal team. Whether that happens is anyone's guess. Ainsley Maitland-Niles has been an absolute revelation of a player. He's enjoyed a renaissance under Arteta that saw him possibly move into Wolves, but his importance in the final and, of course, in the Community Shield, I think, has convinced Arteta that actually we've got a player in Maitland-Niles that could be a future star for us. The valuation of £20 million, I think, is still about right for what his quality is right now, but there's potential for him to be worth a lot more than that in the future. And I'm praying that our good boy Mainsley stays at the club into the future. El Neni, what a surprise he has been since he returned to Arsenal from his loan from Besiktas. Coming to the Community Shield was as good as Xhaka, if not better. Came into that Fulham game like he'd never been away. Fantastic passer, great defensive discipline, great positional discipline, and maybe someone that we could actually rely on to add depth to this squad when it needs it. And if we don't end up signing any midfield reinforcements, it will suck. It will. I will hate the fact that we haven't, but I have a little bit more faith in El Neni than I certainly did a couple of months ago. Joe Willock, for me, questions are so rife around this guy. Has he got a future at Arsenal? I'm just not quite sure. Does he have the physicality? Arguably not. Does he have the quality? I think he does, but it needs to be consistent and it needs to be on a more regular basis. He's getting lots of minutes under Arteta, but he's not really quite capturing the imagination and the liking of the fans too much in my eyes. And I think that you might possibly see a future for Joe Willock at other clubs. However, being said, I think that you need to look at his homegrown quality and the fact that he's come through the youth ranks as a plus for him in comparison to the next guy we're going to talk about. Matteo Guendouzi's commitment to the club has come into the question. His demeanour, his attitude has always been a little bit rough around the edges, and that came to a fore this season when he clashed with Mikel Arteta. Actually looking at Guendouzi on his own, he has got quality. He has got consistency. He never really put too many foot wrong when he played. But then, if you were trying to ask me what is Matteo Guendouzi, I would struggle to try and tell you. What does he add to the team? He adds a lot of energy. Does he add a lot of offensive side of his game? Not really. Does he add too much defensively, solidly? Not really. What is he then? Is he a box-to-box? If he is that, he certainly needs to be putting more output in the final third, and certainly needs to be a stronger tackler in our own third. Granit Xhaka is by far the most important midfielder at this club, without question. Of all the players that I've talked about, be it Sabas, be it Saka, be it Maitland-Niles, be it El Neni, be it whoever, Granit Xhaka is the most important midfielder of this team. For me, Granit Xhaka is one of the top midfielders in the league, and I mean that. And he's earned that right after the last 6 months to be up with those top centre mids that we've seen. Is he as good as De Bruyne? No, I'm not a moron. But I do know that Granit Xhaka has the quality to be one of the most consistent midfielders in the Premier League and be one of the most top centre midfielders in the Premier League. It's not exaggerating. It's not being hyperbolic. The stats prove it. The stats show that Granit Xhaka has been integral to this Arsenal team, and without him in the lineup, we suffer. And Granit Xhaka is so important in terms of what Arteta wants to do with us this season that he needs to play every single minute. Emile Smith-Rowe is someone that I'm really excited about. Emile Smith-Rowe could be someone that ultimately goes forward to be an Arsenal mainstay, a creative force, but he could also just wither away into the shadows and not really do as well as maybe people think he is. He could become what Joe Willock is starting to become in my eyes. I hope he doesn't. He needs to be given chances. He needs to be starting in League Cup games and in Europa League games. He needs to be given the opportunity to play in a role that suits him, which for me is kind of a number 10 / a more advanced number 8 position. If he can be that creative driving force and show in those games to be consistent and score goals and create, there is all the chance in the world that Emile Smith-Rowe could be a starter for Arsenal's first team in the coming years. Let's have a look at what you guys think about my thoughts regarding the midfield. Let's scroll up so we can get some of your thoughts. John, our good boy John, as you can see, is a member now, and not just any member, but Johnny Boy is an expert member. But he also goes on to say, that Guendouzi is an interesting one. He certainly is an interesting one. The thing about Guendouzi is that he is a sellable asset, but his demeanour and his attitude have cost him the possibility of moving to a club that would have played him week in, week out. He's cost himself value, and that's obviously had a detrimental effect on Arsenal as well. Avon says, I think a lot of Italian clubs won't be able to take anything other than loans this year. The key thing would be an obligation to buy him, regarding, of course, Lucas Torreira. MRT said, thought you just breezed past Ozil. The thing about Ozil is that he's a quality player in terms of the quality that he possesses. Is he a consistent player? No, he's not. And that's always going to be a big problem. Let's move on to the front line because I'm conscious of time. Lacazette starts for us. He's in competition with Nketiah, but Lacazette must be starting for Arsenal as much as possible. His links with Aubameyang is there. It's true. His confidence is up scoring away from home, against Fulham. He's just a really, really solid player for us when he's on top and when he's on top form. But if he goes for a dip, then those questions will be asked once again. Is he a sellable asset? Of course. If someone comes in with a £50 million bid, do you take it? I think you probably do. But while he's playing, I have a lot of faith in Lacazette to be a really good forward for us this season. Willian, what a debut. What a fantastic performance from the Brazilian for us. I thought he was really clinical. His creativity was solid. In different areas of the pitch, he could be lethal. And I'm actually really surprised at how many people didn't want to see him come through the doors when we were first linked to him and kind of how wrong they look now. Aubameyang. What more can you say? New contract, fantastic news. Most important signing we'll make this summer. Needs to keep scoring, needs to be our captain, needs to be our leader. Absolutely buzzing. That's pretty much it. Nicola Pepe, big questions around the Ivorian this season, especially with Willian's arrival. Can he nail down a right wing spot with Willian being so good? Will we see Arsenal switch to a 4-2-3-1 with Willian playing more central and Pepe claiming that right wing slot? We'll just have to wait and see. But he had 18 goal contributions last season, which is solid. And I think that if he can improve on that this year, he will go a long way to really kind of justifying that £72 million clause. Reece Nelson, another enigma in the side. Really not quite sure if this mysterious guy can be a starter for Arsenal in the future. Can he be that? I mean, for those that don't know what the word enigma means, it means mysterious. And it means there's so many questions around Reece Nelson. I think he could fetch a really decent fee for Arsenal, and I don't see him starting that many games. That being said, Arsenal got a long season with Europa League games that are needing to be played, and Reece Nelson could fill that role. Will he be comfortable with that? I'm not sure he will be. Eddie Nketiah. This guy has been on the books at Arsenal for a long time. He's been scoring goals in the youth team on fire. He's been scoring goals for England under 21s like no one's business. Can he translate that to Arsenal? That's been the consistent question that we've been facing Eddie Nketiah for a long time. Can he challenge Alexander Lacazette for a starting spot? I think he can challenge him. Can he do it and succeed is the biggest question. He needs to be coming in. He needs to be scoring whenever he plays. And that's going to be the biggest problem. He's got more physical. He's bulked up. But I still think he's lacking just that killer instinct that we saw with the chance that he got in the Community Shield when it was played back to him by Saka and he just put it to Alisson. And it's those chances that I think are going to separate him from being a really clinical top-class striker and from someone that just kind of goes on the Premier League merry-go-round in the end. I don't want that to happen, but I'm just needing to be more convinced by Nketiah these days. Gabriel Martinelli, such a shame he got injured. What a debut season for the Brazilian. Really, really fantastic performances in big games against Chelsea, in which he scored in Europa League. He was a hero for us in the group stages. Headed goals, fantastic dribbling, great drive, great commitment. What a surprise. We wait. We wait until he's back. We wait until what this injury has done to him. Has it really harmed him that much? We'll have to wait and see. It might have come at a good time. If it's happened at a time where you can actually recoup that kind of reputation, great. If it's happened at a point where he can't recapture the form that we saw him have, it could see him slink away again. But we just don't really know what Martinelli's going to come back from this injury. And then where does he fit into the team? Because by the time he comes back, Europa League group stages are done. League Cup games are done. Where does he come back in? He'll be off the bench, and then he'll have to show what he's really about. Until then, we just wait and we wonder. So there you go. That's the front line. Really, really interesting stuff about how Arsenal could set things up in terms of the front line. Let's see what you guys are saying in regards to this. Javier says Willian is good both on the left and on the right. Rugg says Nketiah is going to be a star in the future, and I can see it through him and the type of style of play he plays, but he's too young at the moment to play that first team role. Mr. Meezeeks says, in my opinion, Guendouzi's best position could prove to be as a deep-lying midfielder. Interesting. Ruggs also says, guys, we need to sell some players. We need to sacrifice some players to get these players. And if we do, we can be in the Champions League next season. Afsar says, Nelson and Eddie are not good enough right now. Christopher Fung says, that law front three of Lacazette, Aubameyang and Willian front three is going to be special. James J says, Arsenal need Pepe and Willian. Got to get the right formula for the defence and we can finish first or second. We will be in that top three. And what are your three? One's Partey and Aouar. My three would be Partey, Xhaka, and Aouar. Once again, I'd like to finish this video by saying Granit Xhaka is arguably one of the most important players, not just for Arsenal, but in this Premier League season as to where we finish. If he keeps fit, if he keeps playing like he's been playing, we've got a midfielder with real quality, and people genuinely need to start showing Granit Xhaka the respect that he deserves. So there we go. Thank you ever so much for listening, people. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with my opinions on these players. I'm sure there'll be plenty of you that do. And also, I want to finish off the show by saying thank you to everyone that got us to 19,000 subscribers. We hit that last night. Amazing stuff. Thank you ever so much for all the support that we've continuously been receiving from you guys. We're 1,000 away from 20,000 now. It's mad. It's like doing this show in a way in which I feel personally is done as professionally as possible, looking at tactics, getting you guys journalists and experts, and getting some amazing regular guests like the normal guys that come on every single week. I can't quite believe we managed to get it to this level, but I really appreciate everyone that's been tuning in every single week and has helped supporting us. If you're new to the channel, where the hell have you been? Make sure you sign up. Make sure you get involved. Members, thank you as always. So many of you are helping us continuously to help us put new things in, invest in the channel, doing more stuff. There's new emojis I'm hoping coming very soon, including a very special Mainsley one. So I'm looking forward to that. But thank you to expert members for helping us create this special community that we have here. Ed, Abdullah, Root, Grass, Afnan, Zamir, Jack, Chris, Victor, Iron, Mahir from Dull Square to Where, Ashwin, Owen, Mike, Cole, Gary, Matt, Abid, Jasmine, The Real Janice, Gunner SS, MRT, Olesola, Glems A, PM, Brian, Jared, Aaron, Alex, Avon, Daniel, Rohit, John loves those tactical breakdowns, Emmanuel, Robert, Carter, and Freddie Stebbings. And Freddie is a new member, by the way, as is John. So thank you ever so much, you guys, for helping us on this channel and continuing to make it the professional place that it is. I would also please ask, if you haven't gone and checked out some new stuff that I've been doing, I've been joining other guys over at 101 Great Goals. Please make sure you read some of the articles I've been putting out over there. Really excited to start a project with those guys. So yeah, it's things are changing, things are happening, life's improving, life's getting a lot better, and I really appreciate all of you for helping me along this journey. I actually can't put it into words how thankful I am. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, as it always is, and it will continue to be as we do this show. I'll see you very soon. That's my doorbell going, so I got to go. But yeah, pleasure, and as always, up the Arsenal.